And so I guess we're kind of like playing around with the format a little bit today. I came in with a summary, so I have that, but I guess we'll just roll it and see how we go. So format wise, we're yeah, because at the end, yeah, I don't know. Let's just see what happens. Freeform today.
Most directors and stars of things we've talked about are dead now.
Or at least we wish they were.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Luke. Did you have any thought on how to start this one, or are you
I'm going to do the same intro I'm doing for all of these ones.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
In at number 1 on the shit list, it's the Hollywood cinema system. Cinema system? That's not what I meant. I meant to say
studio system.
Yeah.
Studio system. Yeah.
Studio system.
Also, the cinemas, they charge too much for the popcorn.
Yeah,
shit on them while we're at it.
They're complicit as hell.
I feel like Japanese popcorn is reasonable.
They charge so much because they only get $1 of each ticket, so all the money from the $20 tickets going straight to the studio system anyway.
Yeah. The cinema. I know that's why.
Yeah.
So in Japan, they charge more for the ticket and less for the popcorn.
That sounds like a good system.
Okay.
Maybe.
So we're outside of the studio system today. That's what we're doing right now as the WGA, SGA strikes continue. So we actually
you said wee.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm Matt. Who are you?
I'm Luke.
I'm Mark.
This Films and Filth. We're gonna find out if we're looking at a film or filth today with the writer and star of today's movie, not part of the union, so we can go about it all day. Hello, Matt Farley.
Hey. Yeah, we are way outside of the system in the woods of New Hampshire making a movie with a Russian, like at the time, 40-year-old Russian camera that we got from some camera shop. I can't believe we ended up with a finished product. It was a miracle.
I guess that's what like we have some friends that make movies and stuff, and that's usually what they say at the end, I think.
I feel like that's what even a lot of people who do make big studio movies say by the end, is like, it's a miracle something came out.
Yeah, I was just having a reassess of David Fincher and just listening to the making of Alien 3 and 7, right at the beginning of his career. It's like, how did these actually make it through? Both of them are kind of insane.
I mean, Alien 3 had that was like the 8th script or something, also, right?
Sorry, I was just counting. Alien 7 will be the next one. Alien 3 and 7.
I'm trying to think of how to put the number into it, like A7
IEN. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh god, yeah, that's confusing. But
it's Waluigi.
It's also the name of Elon Musk's next kid.
Oh yeah.
I did rewatch.
Hope Grimes gets out of that one. She's done enough.
I did rewatch the film. Alien 3. I also watched today's movie, which we'll get into in a moment. But I did notice it's a good film that hates you, so it's hard to like because the film hates you so much.
Yeah, I liked it when I was 14 and kind of edgy, and as I've grown older, I'm kind of like, did I really like it, or did I just hate myself?
I like Michael Biehn too much to like that film.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, it hates you. But today's movie is funnier than Alien 3 by far. It's Freaky Farley. Matt, do you want to give us the genesis of this one? Just on, at least on the wiki, it's like saying you had made films before this, but this is the first film one on a Russian camera. And what's the genesis?
Yeah. So my friend Charlie, who's the director, Charlie Roxburgh, we'd been making things together since college in the late 90s. And then we did a bunch of, like, about 5 feature-length movies on a mini DV camera that we kind of looked at as practice more than anything. And then it was like, all right, let's take the next step and actually make a movie on film, which, even then people weren't really doing, not at the level we were at, which is just guys with day jobs, and we had no business making a movie on film. Luckily, Charlie is really good with cameras, because if it was up to me, it just wouldn't happen. My expertise is sweet talking people into working for free. So you know, all my friends and family, and frankly people we hardly knew, we would recruit them to come out in the woods and make a movie. And then just story, like we love 80s horror 80s slashers that take place in the suburbs and the woods. And so you clearly that's what we're going for with this one. And then plot wise, I was inspired by Silent Night Deadly Night Part 2. The framework of Freaky Farley kind of matches the way that movie goes.
The question I wanted to ask you, the name Freaky Farley, had you been called that prior to making the film, or did you make that up for the film?
Yeah, good question. And no one had ever called me that. And we didn't even have a title. Like we had a pretty good idea of the plot, and then it just popped into my head, Freaky Farley, and I was like, ooh, that's got a ring to it. And then we decided to inject that into the script and make it the title. And definitely, I mean, it rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, Mark got a little. You said you had a quick rush of excitement when you misread the title as Freaky Friday.
Oh, I was like,
for
you
5
have the
seconds.
star of Freaky Friday. I was like,
You thought I had Lindsay Lohan coming
That
on for
happened a
5
lot.
seconds.
Or people like, oh, oh no, not Freaky Friday.
Yeah, well, if we get a few accidental views from people thinking they were watching Freaky Friday, we'll take it. That's fine. We're not above that.
If
They're
Grandma
like,
gives
they're like
their
walking
kid
45 minutes in and like, wait, no one switched bodies yet. That's so weird.
well, you could see a killing as a switching of a body in a way, and that the
That's
soul
insane.
is leaving the body, and now the body is different. I really do hope that some grandmother somewhere around 2009 did give their tween daughter this, thinking it was a Lohan film.
We got somehow we got it onto the Netflix back when Netflix in its original form, you know, was mailing out DVDs to everybody. We got them to buy like 40 copies of Freaky Farley, and we couldn't believe it. It was like the greatest thing that ever happened, because like that was like the most legitimate form of you know, at home movie watching. So those were floating around for a few years before they finally all cracked and got out of circulation. But that was our biggest achievement at that time.
Nice.
This question is more for Matt and Mark, and not Luke. But when's the last time you were in a rental store?
You know, shamefully, we have a really great video rental store, Videodrome, here, and I haven't been in years because I basically have a huge backlog of streaming crap, and I just am like, well, I can watch something here without going to a store. It's just shameful. Anyway.
Matt, just out of curiosity, when was your last time in a rental store?
Yo, it's been a long time. I can't even say, but I feel like Tubi is everything I loved about a video store. You know, like I liked a video store that kept every movie they ever purchased and just had these horrible titles like with layers of dust on them in the back of the room, just waiting for me to rent them. And Tubi is like that now, just like so much weird garbage that like you can't believe exists. And so thank God for Tubi.
No, I'm just asking, is Sunday, where, you know, it's Japan, we're standing in a rental store renting Back to the Future 2, which felt very strange in 2023.
Only
Yeah.
2.
Because my daughter just watched 1 and now she wanted to see 2.
Oh.
But she wants it with Japanese subtitles, right? And my Blu-ray is English only. So
Oh.
That was about to be my question, was I couldn't believe you didn't already own Back to the Future 2.
No, I've been repurchasing movies recently, so they'll have Japanese subtitles. So, which is
Are there
Double
several video stores in Japan, or are you just lucky to live near one?
Yeah, no, they're still pretty common.
they're slowly dying. The one that was right near our house, they closed about 3 months ago, which did allow me to run off with 80 movies for $80 on Blu-ray. So that was nice, but otherwise, yeah, it's now it's a dollar store, so it's less exciting.
Well, you guys are kind of lagging behind us, right? Aren't your arcades dying?
Yeah,
Kind
it's more and more like just music games and that kind of thing.
Oh, I
Like,
love those.
Yeah, but
Right.
that was how it went out in the West, right? No one goes in the
Well,
arcade to play a game anymore, so it's all the peripherals and the nonsense, and eventually that'll die out too.
It's the thing is, we at least in Atlanta, all our arcades just died super hard, and we had Dave and Buster's full of like redemption crap, and then we got around one, which is sort of the first time. I mean, we have fighting games in it and stuff like that, so it's more like
Nice.
Japan gave us arcades back in a way.
You can
You're welcome.
still find them, but yeah, they are probably 10 years in them, maybe.
And don't get me wrong, I have wasted a ton of money on the redemption games at round one, but I'm ashamed of it. At least.
Let's dive a little deeper into the movie, but I will just plop out this summary before we get too far for the listener that maybe needs a refresh or something.
We should point out to the listeners now, actually, they can pause right now and watch the whole film on YouTube. They should watch it.
You could
watch it anytime during this podcast.
I'll take 1 minute, which is too long for Luke, but whatever.
Yeah.
Since Farley Wilder's mother died when he was a young boy, his father, a respected local radio personality, has been punishing his son. Farley has spent a couple of decades digging and refilling a large hole by the family house rather than going to school and getting a job. Thus, his pastimes mostly involve floating down the river in his tube and peeping on the local womenfolk. After intentionally sabotaging a job interview his father set up, Farley befriends a spacey book-writing young woman named Scarlett, and they begin to explore their town's strange secrets. It turns out that violent beasts called trogs inhabit the nearby woods, and they are responsible for the death of Farley's mother. Farley snaps, murders his father, and then goes on a killing spree around town, but not before taking out a few trogs with his bare hands. Though Farley becomes institutionalized for his crimes, the town leaders realize that they can use Farley as a tool to reduce the trog population, which he does with the town ninja. Okay.
Did you write that synopsis yourself? That's brilliant.
Yeah, we have to write our own here. So it's always like more stressful when we have the writer on. So
it's
yeah,
so,
you may not.
It's so delightful. Yeah, it's so delightful to hear that preposterous plot, described by someone else in their own words. I love it. Thank you.
And that was a very dome one because you can find plot descriptions, but especially the end, they don't spoil it. And Wiki did not have the full plot summary, so I think I missed a final sentence, but yeah, that's whatever. These things happen. I feel like I missed something is my point, which is why I was like double concerned.
You did great.
This may sound weird. I kind of didn't think Freaky Farley was going to kill everybody, and then he did.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. We kind of lull you into this almost like this love story, practically, with Scarlett and Farley having like local adventures and dealing with the bearded hobo, and that's because like when we watch these horror movies from the 70s and 80s, we're usually disappointed when the killing starts, because like suddenly all the drama is not front and center, and we're most entertained. Like what I like is a lot of drama with just like the occasional like POV shot from the distance that to remind you that this is a horror movie and like the killer's still there. But just like for the most part, I just love watching the way people interact in these horror movies, and so we really just piled on with that for the first half, and then what's fun is to just lose control in the second half of the movie to the point where suddenly you're like, wait, I thought I was watching like a quaint, small town romance, and now a ninja and a witch and a serial killer are on their way to kill some trogs. Like what just happened?
When I first started the film, because obviously Matt hadn't told me much, so it's like independent film, and we're going to be talking to the guy who wrote and starred in it. And I was just thinking, like, dear God, I hope it's good, because I can't sit here and talk. And the bit where you got me was just the gag of he takes off the shirt and he's got the same vest underneath. I was like, okay, I can be on board with this sense of humor, and then I really enjoyed watching it.
Nice. And I mean, and when we're dealing with such a low budget, like that's a decision right there. We're like, do we spend the $4 to get this striped tank top for this one tiny joke? And I'm glad we made that decision. Obviously, the toughest part was the film. I think it came some like $30. It was $30 per minute.
Wow.
And this was back in 06, 07. So we were very much not in favor of second takes. we're like, all right, say your line, but just realize if you make a mistake, it's like a cash register just going and going and going. That put a lot of pressure on the actors, which results in like just like weird awkwardness that you can't get that in a Hollywood movie, what we got in some of these performances.
I guess the musical advice, the Miles Davis thing doesn't work there. If you make a mistake, do it 3 times so everyone assumes you meant it. But maybe that doesn't work for acting.
We can't afford that much film.
I have friends who shot a movie on film called Dear God No, and it kind of severed some friendships, I think, because the budget went all crazy because the film was so out of control. Or maybe that was the sequel. It was one of those, but yeah, film is very volatile.
Well, and also filmmaking is very volatile, and you have to, and friendships can fall apart in the midst of something like that. And that's something that we've always been very like aware of, and all the time we just have to be like, none of this matters, and this is just some people go on like weekend long fishing trips with their friends or something. We make movies, and we're not going to let these movies disrupt a good time. And so it never gets tense with anybody, and a good philosophy for us is just like, however it turns out is how it was supposed to be, because if you go into it being like, I want it to be like this, you're just going to be disappointed. You're just going to be pushing people to do something they're not capable of doing. But what we say is, well, let's find out what it sounds like when this person delivers the line we wrote. And we decide to be pleasantly surprised.
Nice.
You mentioned
another
Mark.
Sorry. I'll say another thing I appreciated was that I wasn't sure the Trogs were going to be real, and then they were.
Yeah. Well, there's a movie called The Pit, 1980 or 81. It's a Canadian movie. It's probably on Tubi too, where there's no subtlety whatsoever. Like there's a kid who talks to his teddy bear, and you think like that's got to be in his head, right? But then midway through the movie, the teddy bear moves. and then like the teddy bear talks and someone else hears it, and the viewer is just like, what? And the movie didn't even seem to consider like the ramifications of these scenes, like they're just like, yeah, let's have the teddy bear move now, which just changes everything. And I, the viewer of that, look at it and I'm just delighted, and I just think like, oh, this is hilarious. And so audio subtlety is what I say in when it comes to these movies. Like, yeah, the Trogs are not a representation of Farley's like inner darkness. They are just actual beasts wreaking havoc on the town, and we had fun with it. I mean, I played half of the Trogs anyway too, which is funny too.
It's like the example I always use is the first 2 Blade movies, or especially the first one, where you're already dealing with a fantasy world, but they talk about the blood god and everybody's like, yeah, there's no blood god. And then at the end of the movie, there's a blood god. It's like always better to make something real that you think wasn't than the opposite, which is everything was a dream.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing is like, I kind of view it as like the first Freaky Farley's telling the story for the first 45 minutes or so. I kind of imagine that was part 1. And what we're watching in this movie is the plot of part 1 condensed into the first 45 minutes, and then part 2 starts when Freaky Farley is allowed out of the asylum. And it's like, when we're so low budget, we have to be entertaining. Like, we have to just like give people way more than they would expect in one movie. And so for us, it's like, let's give them 2 movies worth of plot in one movie, you know? And so, and I don't, have you got, any of you seen Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2?
I've only seen the first one. From what I understand, the second one has like 45 minutes of footage from the first one in it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So clearly, like, and most people look at that and they're just like, oh, isn't that awful? They repackaged the first movie and then just filmed half a movie. I look at it and I'm like, oh, this is great. We get the best moments of the first movie, and then the rest of the movie is completely bonkers and insane. And like, I've written fan mail to the director of that movie. And so it's also just funny for like, my inspiration to be what is considered like one of the lowest points in 80s horror, which is not respected to begin with, you know? And it's like, all right, that's my inspiration. I want to make more movies like that.
To clarify, I definitely have had multiple people recommend that I do watch Silent Night, Deadly Night too. So
okay. And that's the thing.
backers.
The director was given a task. Basically, he was like, here's part 1. You cut that into 45 minutes with flashbacks, and then we have enough money that you can film the 40 minutes that follow. And what he did was just magical and amazing. And it's like a good writing exercise, you know, because like most people who don't make movies are just like, well, if I made a movie like this and this and this would happen. But like, if you're actually making it, you can't just let your imagination run wild, because you have to actually make it, you know? And there's so many real life problems that get in the way, that, you know, not the least of which is that like we have no actors, you know, and the people who are in the movie don't even want to be in it. Like, what a great scenario where people actively are trying to get out of being in the movie that you've devoted like 2 years to. Oh, it's and so another thing, and forgive me for talking so much, but a lot of like, I look at like a movie like Quentin Tarantino's the Grindhouse one, you know, the Grindhouse one that he did with Robert Rodriguez, right? Yeah.
Oh, the Planet
like,
Terror. Yeah.
Both of those movies.
Yeah.
Like, I watched those and they were like big budget movies faking low budget quality,
like production.
Yes. And I watched that and I was like, why don't you guys just do what I did? Like, make the movie for no money, you know, out in the woods, you know? and so for us, it was like, we're not trying to be like bad. We're not trying to make mistakes. We're not, you know, but it's going to happen. And when it happens, it's going to happen naturally. Like, the worst thing I want are people purposely giving a bad performance. Like that doesn't work for me. What works for me is, you know, a guy who I work with, who I basically am forcing to be in a scene when his shift ends, you know, like that's where you get the real magic.
Yeah, we definitely talked about that a little bit on our Plan 9 episode, which recently was that, yeah, you can't fake it really. Yeah,
you can't. And I mean, you know, I don't know what Ed Wood was like in real life, but the way he is in the Johnny Depp Tim Burton movie, I mean, I weep. I'm so inspired by the just like, we have to make a movie. We just have to make a movie. And like, oh, like, you know, Lugosi's dead. Like, all right, we'll just get someone else to put what do they do? They put a cape over their face, and whatever we can do to just finish this thing. I totally relate to that.
My mantra on this podcast has been, the biggest sin a movie can commit is just being boring, you know. So Plan 9 is not a bad movie at all. It's not boring.
Yeah, not at all. And it's just so, it's just so fun to see what's when people make it outside of, especially like outside of LA or New York, you know, when you even just like, cause we're kind of like so accustomed to seeing LA locations, you know, that if it's a movie made anywhere else in the country, it's refreshing.
Yeah, even my family, we watched Back to the Future too, and then we watched something else. I don't remember what it was, but they were like, "It's the same tunnel," you know, with the hoverboard chase, because so many movies use that tunnel.
And I've seen like clips of like this one high school that has like open air area that apparently is used in just so many Hollywood movies the last 30 years. So yeah, we film in New England, and we're happy to like highlight locations around here, because you know, other than Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, you don't see too much of this area.
I'll just throw out two movies that came to my mind while watching Freaky Farley. I'm just curious if this is the sort of thing. I'm pretty sure. I think I've seen a wiki saying you've got a John Waters influence. So I definitely felt a bunch of Pecker in this one, just like going around and looking at the local weirdos kind of vibe. So
yeah, I haven't even seen Pecker. I've seen Crybaby, and I loved it. And I know Charlie, who directs the movie, he's dug deeper. But yeah, we have tons of respect for John Waters, and for sure, from what I've seen and what I know of him, it feels, you know, because he's like he's a Baltimore guy, right? And he's like kind of celebrated Baltimore-ness, and we like that.
yeah, I guess it's like really, like you said, highlighting your place. It could be the scenery or just local colors. The thing that's really if you can capture that in a film, that's when you've caught a little fire, because you can show a place, but it has to have that feeling come through a little bit.
Oh yeah, and some of the accents. How about the mayor in Freaky Farley? That guy, that's my uncle, and he's got the most pure Massachusetts accent you could ever imagine. I just love it.
Yeah, I live in Atlanta, where our city is a stand-in for everywhere because it's so bland. If you watch any Avengers movie, it's New York, and New York is Atlanta. It's always Atlanta.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It took me a moment to figure that out. It was like, I think it was Infinity War, and it was like, that looks recognizable. I was like, oh, I spent some time in New York City, and then it's like, oh no, I know. When I saw the filming locations, it's like, oh, that's why it's familiar. Okay, so
but the whole thing is
extremely frustrating to watch films with Matt. It's like, I know that mall, I know that museum.
See, that's the thing. A lot of people aren't so up on Baby Driver, but I'm like extremely grateful that Edgar Wright, who's a British director, came here and said, I'm going to make an Atlanta movie about Atlanta, and it is. So even though not only do a lot of people have mixed feelings about it, but a lot of my friends specifically hate it because they filmed like a shootout scene near their house. But anyway, I appreciate it.
The other movie.
Well, so the director from my hometown came and filmed the film in your hometown. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's our connection.
That's pretty sick.
Right. It all makes sense. The other film that came to mind, which I don't know, I don't know if this is going to sound insulting, but I love this film. And with Freddie Got Fingered, I just felt like the son father relationship kind of had similar vibes. So
yeah, I love that movie too. I think it's so good. I can't get enough of it. And for sure, I mean, the pushing of the just pushing so far, and not being afraid to really just be off-putting is something that I respect big time in that movie. And for sure, yeah, I mean, it wasn't like a direct influence by any means, but just the general vibe of all of our movies. We do like to sometimes test the audience a little bit, and give them moments where they can just be like, what is going on here? Almost to like weed out the people with unsophisticated taste, like make them turn it off. And then all the true believers will get rewarded in the end with trogs.
Yeah, definitely the last 30 minutes, because the first hour I'm like, okay, I can see where it's a pretty solid indie film, and then the last 30 minutes, it's like, it goes off the rails in the best way. So
yeah, the vibes I was getting actually for like the main bulk of the film was more like Napoleon Dynamite, or just like an awkward teen romance, you know, like mid
Yeah.
2000s, just, you know, he's a weirdo, she's a weirdo, but they're making it work.
Yeah.
It's just pleasant.
Shades of like Julian Donkey Boy, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Gummo.
Yeah, and like I said, in like Friday the 13th Part 2, there's all these romances between the characters. And when I'm watching it, I'm like, I'm into it, you know. I'm like, oh, what's gonna happen between these two? And then they start getting killed. I'm like, oh, that stinks. I was enjoying I was enjoying
Yeah.
these stories, you know.
I
So
kind of love that movie though. It's underrated for me. I like the thrust of it.
Friday
I don't
Part
know.
2.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it too. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. And I think they err on the side of the story much longer than some of the other sequels, where, you know,
Yeah.
because I think the trick is, and you look at like even Halloween, it's like the horror doesn't happen till the final third for the most part. Yeah, you know. And again, I just love watching the girls, you know, discuss Ben Tramer and whatnot. So that's good. So yeah, and the girl who plays Scarlett, she did fantastic. She was the sister of the guy, my roommate from college, and she was just like, hey, I'll be in one of your movies, and we couldn't, and she's the poor girl, she's been in all of our movies since then too. She every time I call, she's probably like, oh no, not him again.
Yeah, she did do great.
So the film comes out. You've got at least the Netflix success. So someone who's watching it, is the urge to what is the urge to go more psychotronic, or pull back and focus on those little dramas?
Or you're saying in the movies I've done since then? Is that what
Like,
you mean?
yeah, like creatively, what is the impulse past that?
Yeah. Well, we've made since, I think we've made like 8 or 9 movies since then. And we definitely, I mean, we made a movie called Don't Let the River Beast Get You, you know, which is like a good old fashioned monster movie. But again, it's one of those where you're 45 minutes in and you're like, is there supposed to be a river beast in this movie? Because I've barely seen one, you know. And so yeah, we always have the elements of the B movie elements, but we do enjoy our small town drama. So it's really just balancing between those two elements. I guess the only time I made a movie called Local Legends, which is more of like a introspective story of what it's like to be a small time artist, you know, and that does not have any killings in it, and people seem to like that for the most part. But yeah, you can't make that every time, because you know, it's basically I had 10 years worth of interesting stories that I just stuffed into one movie. So I got, it's been about 10 years, so I'm almost ready to do another one of those.
I feel like you're in the minority most of the time when I speak to big horror fans. What I'm hearing is like, oh yeah, I sit for all the human stuff, but I'm like, when's the killing gonna start?
Yeah, I'm definitely in the minority, and hence, you know, my lack of success, you know.
Yeah,
It's
maybe.
like I've taken the least respected horror movie, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, and the element of horror that people are least interested in, which is the interpersonal drama, and I've gone forward with those two inspirations. But I can't stop. I mean, we put out 2 movies just this year, and we're planning to do another 2 next year.
I think that approach is definitely having a moment. I mean, like Hereditary being the best example. Not that Hereditary has a whole lot in common with Freaky Farley, but it definitely emphasizes drama over just horror. And I do know a few people who hate the end of that, which is the horror part. I'm usually kind of reluctant to call myself a horror fan because I do prefer the slow burn. I like Rosemary's Baby better than The Exorcist. I mean, obviously, you know, fuck Roman Polanski, but other than that, you know.
Yeah, and it maybe the torture porn era is not as bad as it used to be. I'm not that up to date with horror movies, but I mean, there was a stretch
I
there.
feel like I don't hear much of that anymore.
Yeah,
I never enjoyed that stuff at all, and I mean that's probably not a hot take at all, but like I just remember watching Hostel and being just miserable the whole time and bored.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like the other thing that bugs me is like not a lot of people are talking about this, but the remake of When a Stranger Calls Back, which probably came out 15 years ago. It took place in this like really like state-of-the-art lakeside house with like huge glass windows, clear, like very like a mansion on the lake for essentially. And it's like that took me out of it right away, because it's like I just want to see a babysitter in like a normal suburban house, just like the original When a Stranger Calls or whatever, like it feels like they always want to like throw in this little caveat that for me makes it so much less relatable. I mean, more people live in little suburban homes than lakeside mansions.
I mean, I have genuine nostalgia for the early 90s when everybody was just ripping off Fatal Attraction. Like you go to the movies every week, Hand That Rocks the Cradle, stuff like that. It's just super fun, just ridiculous.
Yeah, what do they call it? Yuppie Nightmare? Did one of your competitors is called With Gorley and Rust. They just talk about horror movies. They did a whole like season on the yuppie nightmare movies, like Fatal Attraction, Hand That Rocks the Cradle. And yeah, those movies are a delight.
Trust me, we're no one's competition.
if anything, we probably listened to that. I've listened to their podcast and they have not listened to us, but if they are listening, hey, thanks. Welcome.
Yeah, well, that's great. You're in the podcast level of where I am in the movie level, and that's where that's where the real honest stuff is happening, like
100 years from now, this is the stuff people will respect.
I know. And you're supposed to be able to take solace in the knowledge that you'll be appreciated later, after your death, but I'd much rather have it happen.
I love a little bit of appreciation now,
Yeah, because we're not going to do a plot twist like in Freaky Farley, like in 100 episodes, I kill Matt and Luke or something.
Over Zoom.
Can't do that. Yeah, over Zoom.
Well, hey, that makes it cinematic if you do it over Zoom.
You don't work with Matt day to day. I can't promise I'm not going to kill him.
Well, you've got a lot more. It'll cost a lot less for you to kill Matt than for me to kill either of you guys. I'd have to pay like a guy.
Or airfare if you're not being lazy.
Or airfare.
You're saying maybe you're not giving people what they want in movies, but you are giving people what they're looking for in music, it seems. We can't let you out without talking a bit about that. What it says, you're up to 23,000 songs on Spotify, is it?
What?
24,000 going on 25. So yeah, I've always been just making 2 movies a year for the last few years, and dating back to high school and college, I just developed this whole like marathon approach to creativity, where it's like, what's the point of life if you haven't written 100 songs in a weekend, and so I started releasing music in 2004, like when iTunes happened. Suddenly, like, you could get your music on iTunes, and so I started putting out the music that I'd been recording. And over the first few years, I noticed the love songs nobody was buying, the heartfelt, introspective songs no one was buying, but the silly songs people were buying them. Like, we had a song called "Shut Up Your Monkey," and it made $5 in 2006, and most people would, and that was our number one song of 2006. It made $5. And most people would look at that and say, like, all right, it's over. We're never going to make it. But I looked at that and I was like, oh, I know what to do. I'll just only write weird songs about unusual topics. And so since then, I've released almost 25,000 songs, and songs about cities, but not just about cities. I mean, about like the 50th most populated city in Wisconsin, you know, where it's just like where the people are shocked, like they're like, why would anyone write a song about our town? And songs about animals, songs about food, and my big moneymaker is songs about poop, because kids ask their smart speaker to play poop songs, and when they do, my songs play, and that's my full-time job for the last 6 years, is collecting half a penny at a time and streaming royalties.
All right. It's funny because Matt and I both write music, and we're like, Matt's so much closer to you on the spectrum, where he'll do 2 or 3 albums a year. The only thing I've produced in the past year is the theme song for this podcast. I never put anything out.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's nothing. That's more than most. It's more than most. But yeah, my general, like, I'd say never say no to an idea. Like, it's my duty to follow through on every idea, no matter how awful it seems. And frankly, half the time, the thing that I think is the worst is the thing that people respond to the most positively. So I'm not a good judge of my own work. So all I can do is churn stuff out, and you know, I mostly have fun doing it, and I can't believe I haven't had a real job in 6 years. It's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm trying to edge towards following through on some stuff. We'll see what happens.
Follow through your duty as well.
Yes, I'm gonna follow through my duty. Thankfully, I can do that after I got out of the hospital. Anyway, yeah, I have some ideas, but you know, all the plugs that I've made on earlier podcasts, where I was like, check out my music on Bandcamp, and it doesn't exist. Sorry about that, listeners. It still doesn't exist, and it will not exist there.
My general, like, what works for me is just like not being a perfectionist. You know, I mean, you watch Freaky Farley. It clearly, you know, I'm not a perfectionist, and ultimately, it's just like, if you're trying to be perfect, it just never gets finished. And then if you don't finish one project, then you don't start the next one, or if you do start the next one, then you're not in the habit of finishing projects, you know? So I consider I just have to finish it. And, you know, like I said, I'm ashamed of, of so much of my work, but if I hadn't put out the stuff I'm ashamed of, I wouldn't have put out the stuff that I'm proud of.
What was your best/worst idea? And I hope it's the same song.
Yeah, well, I mean, even before streaming, I was like, people want songs about poop, you know, and I know it's so embarrassing, because I consider myself like a talented artist, and but I got to make money somehow, and so like the poop song is literally, it's 1.5 minutes long. I just recorded piano and vocals in one take, and all the lyrics are just the word poop over and over again, and it's you know, it's got 5 million Spotify streams. So and then I noticed people like songs with their names in them. Okay. And so I did almost 2,000 songs where I sing people's names over and over again. But then I was like, wait a second. People like poop songs, people like name songs. What if I combined the two? And I've done more than 3,000 name poop songs where I sing a person's name followed by poop. And I have a list 800 names long of people sending me. They're like, hey, you haven't done my brother's name. He's got a really unique name, kid. And so I have it like, and I can't get through the list because they keep coming in. But it's just so, it's so hilarious that I'm in the little room in the little spare room in our house, and I spend the day singing 50 name poop songs, and I'm just like, I'm living the dream. This is it. This is how you make it in entertainment.
I feel like
Hell
this
yeah.
is the movie right here.
Yeah, well, the movie I told you, the
The
one I
10
told you
years in
called,
the working, yeah.
yeah, Local Legends is all about that, and I think it's very self-deprecating and fun, and so yeah, I recommend it. You can rent it on Amazon for like $2. And I'll tell you a top secret. I'm halfway through the sequel, and it's gonna be a wild ride.
Nice.
Awesome.
Halfway through writing it, yeah.
Yeah, I guess a plus to the prolificness is you hear so often where a band makes it on the song they hated, but hey, if you got 30, you gotta like a few of them to play for people over and over again, or
Right.
a couple thousand, as it may be.
Yeah. Well, when I do shows, I only very infrequently, but like, if it's less than a 3-hour show, then that's rare, and once a year I do a 5.5-hour epic show where it's just like a total endurance test for the audience. Several of them are still there at the end. I give out stickers to anyone who lasts to the very end of the show as a reward.
Awesome.
Rewards at the end of shows are good. Yeah.
Well, hey, I'm doing a show in Orlando. Atlanta to Orlando, that's an easy ride. Just keep that in mind.
Oh,
March 9th.
Oh, hell yeah. I've got plenty of time.
I'll see you there.
Awesome. I'm going to get a sticker. I'm getting that
good.
sticker.
Oh, that's going to be real nice. Yeah.
Get big in Japan next.
It would work. Japanese people love poop jokes and poop.
That is true.
That is true. Unchi, there's a word you need to know.
Yeah.
That's what the kids will. That's what the Japanese kids will say too, Alexa. So
I still have that little toilet I bought at a shrine where the poop dance is inside of it.
Unchi-san, yeah, Mr. Poop.
Is Atlanta to Orlando actually close, or is it just America close?
8-hour
It's like
drive, so
8
America
hours.
close.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
entire length of the country I'm from.
Yeah. I mean, but the good thing about America is it's like $110 flight, and that flight takes like 30 minutes. So, no trains, but cheap flights.
Yeah.
Of course, you have to rent a car when you're there, but whatever.
Usually at this point we look up reviews for the movies. If it's supposed to be good, if it's supposed to be a good one, we look up a bad one, vice versa. I did look for this movie. You got a 10, which was nice. It wasn't an interesting read. There were no ones. You have no ones for this movie. The lowest was a 4. So, and that one was still positive.
You could always check Letterboxd. Letterboxd has a lot more reviews.
Oh, damn. Are we changing formats now? Right on the fly? Letterbox podcast now?
Huh? I guess you. It looks
We're
like
an IMDb
man in the
podcast.
chairing. Yeah.
Are you guys
We'll have to sign in.
anti-Letterboxd? Are you anti-Letterboxd or no?
The original premise of the podcast was we were doing the top 100 and bottom 100 films on IMDb.
Okay.
So we would deliberately pick the IMDb reviews.
But
But yeah, there's no reason we can't use a Letterboxd review.
Yeah.
Mark, you have those searching eyes. Did you find something?
You've got
I'm
searching
trying to find it.
eyes.
Okay. 4.5
I got-
stars. I did it. I intimidated Ninja. Am I your hero, Farley? Michael Myers doesn't have shit on Freaky Farley. One life.
Well, I got one. Ready?
Okay.
The 1 star from January this year. I've subjected myself to a third Moturn Media film in an effort to give a countering view from that of their bubble of fandom. An earlier effort than the other 2 I've seen. I enjoyed this one a bit. It's actually in color. Not that I have anything against black and white on its own, but given that everything else in the film is bland and flat, it's nice to have something more lively on screen. As per usual, the acting is bad. I'm not sure if it's the writing or the acting that makes the dialogue feel so awkward and unnatural. Probably a combination. Is it on purpose? Is it supposed to be funny? Either way, it's just bad. All right, we'll stop there. But ooh, that's tough, huh?
No, among our filmmaking friends, I mean, with music too, you just kind of got to eat the bad reviews sometimes and wear them as a badge of honor if you can.
I love them, and they're always so much more entertaining than the positive ones. Like here's one more 1 star. one, this is not a horror movie. Two, I didn't finish watching this, which is lame. I know. I never bother logging about movies I didn't finish, but that leads to the third point. Three, I'm really surprised by all the positive reviews for this. This is a pretty obscure movie, so there's not much info to be found, but from what's available, that's all enthusiastic. So yeah, we do have a small but energetic fan base, at least, and like we premiered 2 movies back in May, and we got about 100 plus people to come from all over the country and even the world for that. So it, we're not making any money, but it's like at least people are actually watching it.
Well, it's kind of about finding your tribe, and art, be it music, film, or whatever, is a good way to find your tribe.
Right. Yeah. And I could see it being somewhat profitable at some point. And I tell my friends, I'm like, we're going to keep doing this till we're in our late 80s. And so we got a long way to go to reach that pinnacle of success that we're hoping for.
Just deal with it. You're in. It's too late to get out.
Well, what's good is, like, in the old days, people in their 20s, especially, like, they wanted to like do things and like go out and have fun. But now that all our peers are, in their 40s, it's like they have nothing else to do. So it's like it's a lot easier to get actors than it used to be, because they got nothing going on. I love it.
Well, Luke's not up to his 40s yet, but I guess podcasting's the same.
I would still go out. I am in my 40s, but I ran out of money, so I don't. So,
yeah,
I'd be in somebody's movie if they're like, yeah, I'll give you free food. Sure.
Yeah, and that's what we do. We order a few pizzas and we have a super fun time. I'll tell you one thing, it's a lot easier to get guys to do it than the females. Basically, the only females who are willing to be in our movies are married to us or very closely related. So but the rest of them want nothing to do with us.
I guess we'll wrap it up today, unless someone had another big point they wanted to throw out.
The only thing, I have one thing left, is that I was a very weird kid growing up, and this movie does kind of realistically depict that you can be weird as hell and women still like you. And it's that weird, it definitely captures that weird magnetism of like, this shouldn't happen, but it's realistic somehow.
Yeah.
Well, I think people are the same as what Matt said about films. The worst thing you can be is boring.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and if you're that weird guy, if there's gonna be like this one girl who's kind of be like, what's up with that guy? I want to figure out what's up with that guy. And God bless those ladies.
Yeah, and I definitely knew other weirder people than me who got mega laid. So yes.
You already mentioned your Orlando March 9th, but anything upcoming with the motor media?
Yeah, I'm doing a show I live in Danvers, Massachusetts, and there's this little town hall theater that I rented out for September, October, November, just they're free shows. It's just for fun, just because I love doing it. So the next one is October 21st. Come visit Salem, Massachusetts, which is like the Halloween capital of the world. It's fantastic. They took the tragedy of the Salem witch trials and turned it into a tourist attraction. So come check that out, and then come see a free show in Danvers next door, October 21st. It's gonna be fun. Oh yeah.
This is a whole thing though. The last time I flew anywhere was Boston in October, and my friend wanted to go to Salem, but didn't plan anything. So I'm going to say that if you do go to Salem, buy tickets for things in advance, because everything was sold out in October.
Yeah. But it's like a street festival though. Even if you can't get into the museums and stuff, it's like people are, my whole family, we get dressed up and just parade around, and everyone else's, it's like a Mardi Gras atmosphere all month long in Salem. So it's pretty wonderful.
Yeah.
Nice.
I hit that up in a 2002, so it might be a little different these days. But yeah, I had
Oh
a good
yeah,
time
it
up
gets
there.
bigger. Yeah, it gets bigger every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is nice and big and lively. I'm just sitting here trying to remember what my costume was, and I can't for my life. But 21 years ago, whatever.
We probably walked by each other.
Yeah. Luke, what do you want to say about us today, or others, or whatever?
You can find us on Twitter at Time. No, that's the other one. Films. Is it just Films and Filth?
It is.
Yes,
Yeah,
if
for
you
now-
paid.
If they start charging for Twitter, we ain't doing it.
No, we're not there
Don't
anymore.
look for
Yeah.
us.
If you pay to get on Twitter, it's on you, not on us.
Yeah.
We're not there.
You just got a new follower.
All right.
For the time being.
Yeah.
I am your
Hoping you're not
ninth follower.
It's a new account.
We're
Anyway.
on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of that jazz. Make sure you like and subscribe, rate and review. If you want to help support the podcast, keep it online, head over to patreon.com/podcastius. And there you will find links to the other podcasts we create, some of which are much more popular than this one. Make sure you check them out, give them a listen, tell your friends, all of that.
Word up. Okay, I'm gonna stroll off into the woods, I guess. For
All
real.
right.
Yeah.
Look out for trogs. They'll sing Wild Thing at you. Maybe.
I was gonna go to the gym, but maybe I'll just go dig a big hole and fill it back in.
Hey, that's manly.
I'm gonna go fight a ninja.
That's the director, Charlie Roxburgh, playing the ninja, by the way. Great performance.
Awesome. That's one of my favorite things is that he's just he's not the ninja, he's a ninja. It's like,
It-
hey, ninja.
Everyone just accepts that there's a town ninja too, but I love it.
I used to assume that's what goes on in small town America. I got nothing telling me otherwise.
Good.
We do have the ninja village in Nagano. So
Yeah, but that's different. We're in Japan.
yeah, okay, makes sense. But
So,
it's just,
wait, are there ninjas there?
you are the
Yes.
ninja. You have to
No.
climb around on stuff. It's mildly dangerous. You can rent a suit.
There is
Cool.
at least one guy there who is a practitioner of ninjutsu.
All right.
With your bunny
Has-
ears.
Has anybody been to like the Ninja Steakhouse in New York?
No.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm like derailing this with a badass ninja tangent at the last second.
Oh,
Thanks for listening.
Okay, sure.
I've been to the Iga and Koga Valley where ninjas actually come from.
That's cool.
And then I
Maybe
did
even
the
better.
ninja trap house because I was the only white guy. I was like too big and clumsy and activating all the traps. So then all the Japanese people were like, make him do it for every single thing.
Hell yeah.